Unless the recording.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock. We will call the finance committee meeting to order. We have roll call officer Brian
Keller,
present.
McCreary,
Present.
Cosgrove.
Present. Also in attendance, we have the mayor, we have the village administrator and fiscal officer, and 2 council members. Approval of the April 11th minutes.
I read the minutes, so I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as recorded.
I'll second that.
And we have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, roll call.
Cosgrove,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes. Okay, visitors. Don't have any. Does anybody else want to say anything? All right, 2022 goals. Keep spending within appropriations. Good job. Old business. None. New business. Brian.
Okay. So we finished April with a balance of $2,530,407.88. Between the bank and book, let's see, we had total receipts last month of $276,417.63. Total payments, hey, I kept another $200,000 last month. It's $198,201.31. Other adjusting factors, 1778.39, and that is just basically the transfer between the sweep account, which is the investment account with Fairfield National or Park National, excuse me, and our general checking. They automatically park. I mean, it's basically anything above 100,000. They move money to the sweep account, and if it gets below 100,000, our checking account, they move it into from the sweep account into the checking account. So that's what that is. And notice something different this month on them. I didn't have to go through credit card transactions with Municipay this month. Missy and I had attended a meeting a couple weeks ago, Municipay meeting, and was talking to some other fiscal officers there, and we figured out the cutoff date of the cutoff time on when they post their credit card transactions. So anytime like today, for instance, anytime between 3 a.m. and 2:59 a.m. tomorrow morning, that's when they stop their credit, and that's when they post it to the bank, those transactions. So Missy is now cutting off her credit card transactions at that same time frame, so everything matches through the bank. So we figured it out finally after, what, 6 months?
Better than never.
Better late than never.
So what time do they come on?
2:59 a.m. on that particular day. I mean, they'll still take it, but if it's beyond 2:59 a.m., then it posts on the next day.
Yeah, it's just a posting.
Moving on to outstanding checks last month, let's see, $6,206.31. Two outstanding deposits, $4,760, those credit card transactions. And like I said earlier, the check register for the last month was $198,201.31. So if you have any questions, check register.
Oh, the check register just reminded me.
Oh, okay.
And so, because we were switching the phone issues here, I just saw the thing for Sprint. With all the phone issues, did that end up costing us any additional money with all the
Not the
screw ups or stuff that was going on? Or
I love Brian handled that.
But I don't know what
They charged us for services charged us for the phone.
are we talking about? are we talking about
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile? You know, they corrected that. I did get a bill. I do have another phone call into Zach. Well, I called and I'll have to send him, I'll call and send him another email. I got an invoice this month and they're still saying we owe the $5,000 for the cell phones and stuff. We're supposed to get that.
But he did send us a correction email. I don't remember.
Yes, he did say that. So that did say that, but I still get an invoice and I want, this is another thing I want to ask about because I still get an invoice from Sprint for the
For the hotspot. And
hotspot.
that's probably, that's what I think I saw in here. It's like $200.
Yeah, right.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, the hotspot and it has to do with the police department too. The hotspot the hotspots we have as well as what's the,
For their MDTs.
yes, MB, yeah, those, I can show you.
Okay.
Because I got another invoice from Sprint for those. Again. It's like, okay, you know, I was gonna ask that, is this something we're gonna continue to get, or is this something you go? Any questions on the check register, anybody? South Central was $12,700. That seems what I keep pointing out every month. Warwood Amateur, that's the company we used for the pumps out of the sewer plant. Okay. Moving on to the metrics here. Star Ohio last month, $173. So that seems to be on an upswing.
Well, usually when stock goes down,
I don't understand that, but it's,
you know,
right.
it does. It's just the opposite. So now we should be making better interest. And which I don't like. I mean, my stock's taking a killing, but I know what you're.
Yours is taking a killing.
Yeah, but that's the way it works.
So it does seem to be up on the uptick there. We're $45 in January to 173. Who knows what it'll be next month?
Yeah.
Last month's distribution, the Rita was 80, looking at it right, yeah, $86,137.50. That was April. And that's the highest. And of course, that was tax season. Hopefully this month will be even better. In fact, the first one was. So, but we are right now about $20,000 shy of last year. Right? When you add them all up, that's in total. That's just in total. Appropriation status for the major funds that we should be around 33%, and as you can see, all the general street, water and sewer and storm sewer are below 33% threshold. Revenue status. We're slightly below contracts right now, but I did invoice the school, so that should uptick sometime, hopefully this month. We can get a check from the school. Cable franchise, that's the reason why that we get that quarterly, so that'll be above the curve, so we get another check, which will be maybe this month, maybe next month. Those come every 3 months. And as you can see, income tax from the general fund as well as the street fund and the swimming pool fund are at 30%. So there's 3 percentage points difference. But
Yeah.
and moving on to finance. There we go. as a general fund. We actually spent some money in civil defense for it. And they replaced a battery in one of the tornado sirens, and it ate up 85% of the budget for that line item. All the other lines,
But we shouldn't have any more unplanned tornado siren expenses this year, should we?
I hope not. I look for the street department to catch up here pretty soon. Now that construction's been going on. Terry and I have signed a couple pay requests to OPWC, so they'll do their share, and then we'll maybe get invoice for our share. And so that should probably go up. Water fund's doing, Water fund's doing really good right now, but again, that's that. Same with the street fund, OPWC. That was one of the projects that we submitted, right? So our share will be coming up soon. And you can see we're starting to get some activity. The pool operation fund, of course, the appropriations increased 80,000 for the grant. So as you can see, we're starting to see some activity going on in the park fund now, plus we've encumbered some monies for the pavilion and so forth. Any questions on the appropriations?
May I have any questions? I hear a motion to approve the April financials.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
That's your second. Okay, motion second to approve the financial report. Any discussion? Hearing none. Brian?
Cosgray,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Keller.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'll make sure.
Oh, I have a new business item.
Oh.
Oh, I do
Good
too.
point.
I do too.
Oh, okay. Uh-oh.
Don't
Okay.
say that. See, don't say it's gonna be too short. There you go.
Mine won't be that long, I don't think.
Mine won't be either, but
Okay, who wants to go? Go ahead, Mayor.
Nah, Brian, do first,
Go.
just in case.
I just wanted to give you a heads up. Next month, you will have a 2023 tax budget in your hands next month. It's that time of year again. As well as legislation.
Yeah, ain't nothing we can do about it, but
It's one of those things, it's due to the county auditor by July 20th. We'll
Didn't
have plenty of time to,
Jeff, when he was Jeff Fix, when he was here, say that they passed a resolution like all the other counties in Ohio to waive that?
I don't recall that, but I can find out.
Or
We
maybe,
are one of the few counties.
or
that do
maybe,
that.
maybe he said they were talking about.
Maybe
it.
they were talking about it. I can find out.
Yeah, but I thought he mentioned something about it while he was here. Because we're one of what, 4 counties in
Yeah,
Ohio?
yeah, it's technically a stupid process for those new council members here. I just throw numbers in this thing called a budget, and it's basically this year's
It's a
budget.
liar's budget, is what it's called.
And I take it, because we're required to, and I've been bringing this up the last few years. It's, why do we have to do this? I said, all these numbers are going to change between now and the end of the year because we don't know what road project we're going to do next year. I mean, the only thing I can do is increase salaries and benefits 3%, because that's about the only thing I know what's going to go. Maybe utilities, but maybe they finally
Got smart.
got
At
smart.
the county level. I won't hold my breath.
But I did get the thing from the Board of Health paper. Our share for coming out next year in taxes is 12,800, I believe, roughly.
It's up, what, $300, I think?
Yeah.
It wasn't as big as most. All right.
okay, Mayor.
Mine is a question for Brian so while I like Rita, because we're getting money from, or I struggled this year with their stupid tax forms. All of their boxes and charts and all of this stuff. So before, because at some point they will start taking collection actions against people that didn't pay or filled out the form wrong.
Mhm.
And I'll be honest, I might be one of them because at some point I said, forget this. Here's what I think I owe, here's my check, and if I'm wrong, then we'll argue about it later.
Mhm.
Before they start doing that, once they get through processing them and say, okay, all of these people have adjustments. Can we get one of them to come down here and have like office hours for residents that have questions on how
They
did you
should be
come to this number and how did you come to this number before they start doing the collection side of it? If there's questions that way, A, it's a little more friendly, and B, like I said, I might be the first one in line because at some point after 2 hours of trying to figure out what it wanted me to put in one of the forms, I was like, you know what, here.
They probably could. I don't know. I can find out. They do have a office in Worthington, I believe, so they could probably send someone down there.
I know a couple of years ago we did that before they sent out and actually filed.
Yeah, 'cause
election suits. We had them come in and we sent notices to people. I'm
It's
just
been about
thinking
3
we,
years.
It's been about 2 or 3 years, and
And
they're
then you
asking me if
just
I want
take
to do that again, so.
well, I'm thinking we take it just one step further, before you start sending the, hey, or once they send out the letters, hey, we've adjusted your tax return. Here's how much additional you owe. Maybe we can prearrange a date with them, and then they conclude in that letter, if you have questions, we will be in the village from 8 to 5 on this day. Come talk to us.
Maybe before tax season next year ends, or.
No, what I'm saying, so I think I usually get mine in September from them. Not that this is a yearly thing from them with me, but it's a yearly thing because their forms are worse than the federal forms. And so I think usually August, September, I get a, hey, we recalculated your forms, you did this wrong or something like that, and you owe us an additional $100 or something. When they get ready to send those letters out, if they know when they're going to send them out, and we can say, okay, you're going to send them out on August 15th. And in that letter, they can include on September 15th, they're going to be in the village office to answer any questions you have before you have to respond to it. I just think it would be beneficial.
Okay.
Because if I'm having a problem, I'm pretty sure other people are too.
Yeah, I kind of knew. I watched one of their webinars earlier this year because of the COVID, last year with COVID, people working from home versus working, and I'm like, oh my God.
Well, it's working from home, it's your winning city, your resident city, your workplace city. God forbid you be an attorney or a contractor and go to dozens of other cities and counties.
Yeah.
Or have multiple sources of income from different cities, and it just, try to figure out your percentage of this city that's applicable to this city if that city didn't keep it, and it just.
Yeah.
So if they could come in, we could set the date prior to them sending out the adjustment letter so that they could include in there, they will be in the village, and then we can obviously publicize it too.
What do you mean after the adjustment letter? Or after the adjustment letter?
We can
Set-
send before.
Set the date, yeah, send before, so the adjustment letter could potentially include, hey, we'll be in the village.
Okay.
On this day if you have questions.
Are you talking about your own self, right, not business?
I would say.
Because I'm having trouble with business, because I do the taxes in VFW.
I would say both because I also have a business tax form to file with them as well.
You wouldn't have anything to do with Rita there because VFW is outside.
I know,
They
but
have-
I have people that
They
live
pay
in.
W-2s.
Yeah, I have people in town that I take resident tax.
Oh, okay.
Because this way they don't have to pay at the end of the year.
Right.
But then I have some people, I had one that lived in town and moved out of the country. So I sent it in, W-2. But sometimes the form, the total of all the employees, they called me one time when they sent me a letter and I called them. I said, wait a minute. I said, I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart because I don't really have to, some people,
Right.
I don't have to pay the 401% and I do. I think you only have to pay 0.5%, right? To be, or something.
No, there's no 0.5%.
Well, they were saying, so I take 4% out, but they sent me a letter and said, you did something wrong. And I said, no, I didn't. I know what I'm doing. And we argued. They agreed. Finally, they said, okay, yeah, you just did it on the wrong line. Yeah, you did it right. You did something on the wrong line.
Yeah.
So yeah, business and resident.
Yeah, so.
I told you it wouldn't be too long.
Uh,
I told you I wouldn't be too long.
Okay. Anybody else have anything for the finance team tonight? Okay. This meeting is adjourned at 6:22. Next meeting is June the 13th at 6 p.m. Meeting's adjourned.
Good job. Now, pause, but we probably can't have rules yet, can't we?
It's,
Foreman's not here.
yeah, we have to wait on Mr. Foreman, but it is advertised and scheduled immediately following
Oh,
finance.
We'll give them a few minutes. They usually roll around 6:30.
I paused it. Recorded.
Just leave the live stream. Chief in too.
Huh?
Chief Sampson.
Oh.
Well, and so it'll only be,
No.
click that back down. Now click on that and then save it.
Oops.
Nope, that's fine. It's up there. I don't know that it was joining for finance anyway, and no, well, but at least this way Cheeseburger doesn't get in, or whatever his name was. Wasn't that one of the
Oh,
guy's
yeah.
names last week?
Oh, yeah.
It was.
I thought you called it cheap.
Well, we could. Nickname him.
Which printer, is there one that I can send to have these printed so I can make notes on a couple of
What do you, what?
hard copy? I just want a hard copy of the council. The actually minutes. And, council didn't print this,
You want the minutes and what else?
the minutes and the agenda. for council. Will be the minutes. I'll go get it. Just like, I hear it.
Once Suez came in, I read that report, and they got an idea of how to, they did the acid cleaning and all that stuff.
Yeah, Brad's gonna be here at 7:30.
Oh, okay, it's good.
I thought it would be great to bring him in. I read through the report to make sure I didn't have to do any definitions. I didn't see, okay, so tell me how good. We're recording.
No.
But you are streaming.
Boy, we are recording. Sorry.
So tell me how good I was. Was there anything on that report from Suez that was not understandable? I didn't think so. I thought it was pretty good. The inorganic and organic, I thought maybe Brad could just talk to when he does it. I mean, I could have given you a Webster's definition, but this will be more applicable to our process. So, yeah. So yeah, he's coming in at 7:30. To answer any questions and to talk through anything you would like to talk about. Did you get everything? Yes, thank you. You're welcome.
This is probably a question for him, but it has to do with suspended solids, like at what level they need to be.
Mhm.
And in the past, it seems like recommendations from manufacturer of membranes versus what's in their procedures different?
Well, that's a good question to ask Brad, because there were conversations about that, because like right now, he's very proud of the fact that we're in automatic for the first time since he's ever worked here, which is good
So it's
because
on kind of like autopilot.
instead of Brad having to run the plant all the time or
Okay,
be at the plant. And then I'm excited because that's one of the metrics, if you remember, that I'm tracking is the electricity for the plant.
yeah.
I think that once we get on auto, we may see, and I said we
Just
may
kind of
see,
settle down.
maybe a savings. So it's a good one.
All
Good
those
question.
motors aren't constantly kicking up and then
Right,
shut down and
right.
kicking up and the pumps are going on and off.
Right.
Once they kick up, that's the surge. And then once they maintain a.
And if they surge during prime times, we're getting really, good for that. Yeah.
Quick question, because I just sent another reminder to two of the BDRC board members. The festival is to be held in August. Are we just to bring, once they submit to get a permit for alcohol for beer, do they need to submit a request to you?
Mhm.
Because I know they're gonna ask me.
The permit
chief-
should actually be sent to us. I think, doesn't liquor control send that to us?
So, yes, and once I get it, then we'll sign it. Now, one time they were running late and for some reason they brought it to me, hand delivered. Judith did one time. So it just depends, but yeah, they'll need to be getting that.
So maybe the festival council is doing that.
We're gonna have 2 days or 1 day.
I would ask Shane about that, just to make sure. Because he may say if EDRC is handling it, you're handling it. So I would just ask him. Make sure.
But the permit needs to come here to the village offices.
Chief needs to sign it, I need to sign it. More important for the chief to sign than me.
See, the
Council gets the opportunity to object.
Yes, council does.
Well, see, we own the land, so the liquor license has to come here.
Well, that and all liquor licenses in the village.
All of them.
Well,
When they
come
get
to us.
renewed,
Okay.
they come here.
It doesn't happen here, but I do with it in larger cities where we'll have constant police runs to an establishment.
Oh,
and
so
when
you
they-
can look at it.
And when they go to renew, sometimes we say we're going to object to this.
So when they apply for this, it will actually be for usage at Johnson Park through the.
Just for those days. Okay. Just for that window. So another thing where you're asking me a question about BDRC, let me ask you a question. Is BDRC going to any way be a part of the garage sale thing? Are they doing any kind of coordination of that?
I mean, they've just announced it. In previous years, there was Kendra Landis had put together a list of dates and such. I think that Emily Badgett's trying to put something together, but basically all we do is announce it. That's it. There's nothing else. that
But
we-
it's considered a village event or activity, correct? It's not village council supported.
No, it was something that ended up being the BDRCs by default somehow. I don't remember, but this happened when I first came on. It had just been kind of publicized through the BDRC, but that's it. The yard sales. It just has been the same weekend for however long.
Right after I was elected, I got asked about that and I said, do that. And I was told the BDRC is always handled that.
Mhm.
So, and then I heard that all it is has been publicized through the BDRC.
Basically, and
Yes, it's always been the same weekend, so they just kind of kept that. Is that something that should be coming through?
Us, no.
No.
I only ask because if that's an event, someone's asked to put a food truck there. If we have a community event happening, a food truck does not need a permit. If it's not a community event, they need a permit. themselves.
I guess.
I would think the community, or it's a community event.
I would
I
say it's
I
a
would think it
community
was
That's what
event.
they
too.
call it, community yard sale.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
that's
we
what I-
haven't like opened it up and said food trucks are welcome. I don't know.
Oh, no, somebody approached me.
I think it would be great. I mean, I know
Right.
they would be busy because the streets.
Does council have to have a resolution?
No, I don't believe so. In our rules and regulations that council passed a couple years ago, it just said, there's a caveat in there that says, if there is a community event, you do not need a permit for a food truck.
Okay.
And we
so
put that
it's-
in there for things like
For that.
extravaganza
Yeah.
on Easter weekend and
Okay.
different things, so that was. one of them.
So if they want to set up, do they just need to come to you if they want to set up at Johnson or Fossil? Or,
Or I didn't offer that.
okay, okay.
You know, I think that's something we'd have to talk about. This person has another piece of property that they're gonna set up on. Maybe they'll bring more than one food truck in. You know, because they're not a food trucker, they just get food trucks around.
Yeah.
So is Kendra still in your organization?
She just started to become involved once again. But that's about it.
Okay.
So if that's what you're talking about, I mean, we haven't heard any of that,
All right,
so,
I'll follow up.
That thing down at the mall, that barbecue thing.
They have a permit,
That's not a food, is that considered a truck,
food truck. A mobile, it's not called a truck. That was a part of our ordinance also. It's called a mobile food vendor. So in other words, it's not permanent. Now, one of the things I'm going to have to do with them is have a conversation about whether that stays there after his permit. His permit, I think, goes till August. You know, you can only stay so long and then you're supposed to move it. So I need to have a conversation with him. Because they moved it up in the parking lot. Did you see that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it used to be in the back
It used
half,
to be in the back.
so they took up the back so you could go around the backside for the
Yeah.
drive-through. And your car, depending, if you had like a dually, might actually hit the grass a little bit. It was that far into the back.
oh,
And
okay.
now they moved it,
Now, so
since
they
the
can get
diner's
around.
closed, it's sitting in parking spots right there in the front.
Mhm. So one of the things that, you know, I've got to get with them is they can't leave it there over winter, you know. I know it's a big thing to haul back and forth, but.
They can eat there.
Yeah.
Yes,
good.
Brian does.
There, the
I
drive,
didn't even know anything about their,
They're very good.
Their wings
the
are excellent.
smoked wings, and I
Mhm.
get them naked, no sauce.
I don't like.
So they're just smoked wings.
Is that
I
right?
haven't tried the smoked. They're
Mhm.
good.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
think
get
he
a
does
smoke
really
with one of
good
the dry
business.
rubs and no sauces.
What else do they serve besides wings?
Their
Mac and
their
cheese.
chili is good. Their mac and cheese is a creamy mac and cheese.
Yeah.
That's
White cheddar,
Oh, yeah.
macaroni and cheese, regular macaroni and cheese.
Baked bean,
Cornbread.
hamburger and that kind of stuff too.
No, I don't think
No.
hamburger.
No, I don't think they have burgers.
Boneless wings. Oh, cornbread.
So that the main meat is wings.
Wing.
Yeah.
Right.
They have other chicken stuff.
Okay, then like a chicken breast? No. I guess I would.
Hold on, I have the app on my phone so that I can order.
I went and got a pizza and I thought, you know, I think I'll go and get something to eat, but if it's just mostly wings.
Always get the wings.
No, I think they have other things besides wings, if I remember right.
I always
Hold
get the
on.
wings. I don't pay attention to it.
That's-
They're in Pataskala too, as you go into Pataskala, he has a mobile unit that sits there and the cars are always
Also-
lined
so-
He's
up.
also opening up a import facility in Pickerington.
So they've got a chicken wrap, chicken and waffle fries, a slop witch, a chili witch, chili cheese dogs, grilled chicken salad.
Making me hungry.
No,
No.
oh, give it a couple more minutes. I didn't hear from Ricky to do. All right. It says 6:45. or after finance. We can wait. Give me a
How many
chance.
chickens can you have in town?
I believe it's 12. I believe. How many does she have?
Oh,
She
yeah.
looks like she has a lot.
Yeah.
I haven't counted heads
Well,
yet.
I try to count them, because she turned them loose, and I try to count
She
them
can't, she's turning them loose?
every evening. Almost.
See, I've had conversations with her. I was just so proud of her that she did what I told her to do, and now you're telling me she's letting them
Well, they were
loose.
loose the other day. Now, I seen her come home tonight right when I was leaving, and I didn't pay attention to her either.
She can't do that.
Occasionally ours get out, but that's because the kids open, to try to feed them and they open, and leave it open, and they don't run out. But in the evening, they'll go back in.
Well, they always go back in and roost, but the thing of it is they visit other people who don't like chickens as much as we do. So.
Our yard's fenced, so. they usually just-
Oh, if they stay in your fenced yard, you're fine. This yard is not fenced, that Mr. Kelly.
They get out of it sometimes.
Mm.
And I even seen one in before.
So they become a chicken fillet.
Well, yeah.
Chicken dinner.
Chicken dinner.
I don't know who you belong to.
Yeah, the funny part about that whole situation, so she said she inherited from a guy that I had cited in the mayor's court who told the magistrate he didn't have chickens. Go figure.
It's water since we have.
I just,
12 are a combination of 12 chickens and ducks together. So they can't have 12 chickens and 12 ducks. They can only have 12
You can
fowl.
have 12 fowl.
Fowl.
Otherwise, it's a
Only
a
one
foul on the
rooster.
play.
A
Maybe
fowl.
next time they had chicken and dog, because I know she's got a bunch. I can't imagine. I mean.
She's gonna
it's a
have
small
to
house.
do something.
When I
with
see
her.
the door, let the dogs out, I bet there's 6 to 8 dogs comes out of that house.
Yeah, and so you're not even supposed to have that many. And it's like, first of all,
And cats, I know she got cats.
so there must be adequate fencing in the yard to prevent animals escape. That's the verbiage.
Did you do these council minutes, Brian?
Yes, I did.
We have bar back.
Oh my God.
It took a long time. I kept going back.
Well, the way this one is worded, it's kind of funny because it's both grammatically correct and factually correct, but also very funny in the way you can read it.
Good job, Brian.
Oh, okay.
No, because it's,
I was freaking out.
it's on the short-term rental discussion.
Yes, that's what it for.
And here under my comments,
Yeah.
he went on that far too many times. I went on far too much, huh?
Yeah.
Is that the comma?
But then the rest of it goes on and it's like,
I was just trying to,
grammatically, that's correct, but you can read that as I was talking too much as well. Okay.
That's the importance of the comma.
Yeah.
well, no, I was just making sure that I just, I don't know how many times I hit that backplay. but
It's
10
hard.
10
It-
seconds.
It's a challenge. I will tell you that.
I finished them up at 11 o'clock at night on Tuesday
Mhm.
last week.
You did a very fine job.
Well, again, we have Barb back and she's,
Now, I gotta pick on you a little bit because you said you finished them at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday.
Yes.
What was your score on Monday?
Oh, actually, I had an 88 that day. I had 85 of this.
she golfs. And as long as I can get a hold of him on the field. Or not the field, the
Brad called
course. Brad told me he called you.
Barb called me.
Barb said she
And
called you.
she's the one that's tipped me to my air. I'm like, huh? And I came back, like, "Ooh." Metric is wrong.
She goes, I called Brian. I didn't know he was on the course. That's all right. You can call him. We put in, Brian's put in a lot of hours this last few weeks and more to come with the pool.
Doing it, I'm sure there's an appreciation for why even years ago, people that did medical dictation
Oh.
30 years ago were getting $15 an hour.
Oh, yeah, it's,
I used to do that.
did you really? So did you have a program where the computer just typed it from listening it, or you had a hand type it in?
Before, yeah, I had a hand type it.
Wow.
You probably had the foot pedal. There's a foot pedal
I
that goes
did,
forward
yeah.
and backwards.
Wow.
Yeah,
I admire you.
I did some for OSU, and the problem is all of the foreign physicians, like particularly Asian, I mean, impossible to
Oh, I
understand.
bet, oh, I bet. Yeah. Depends on what side of the microphone you're on, because even then, sometimes Kay said she can't understand us when we're
Yeah,
planning and
yeah.
sending. I hear him upstairs.
I was listening to the
Oh, you're listening to the
Oh.
clock, yeah.
part of Facebook. Yeah, it's don't. Okay.
Well, thank you for pointing that out, Brad. Now it's gonna be. But you really don't realize what echoes is when they're upstairs and like they have little ones or something that are running back and forth. And it's like, oh. It's really hard sometimes, but they don't do that very much anymore. So. Everybody's very considerate. So while we have 2 minutes left, so you remember the commissioners are coming here for a meeting in June, did I tell you?
Did we confirm the date?
Mhm. And so I only say that because we probably should be working with Brandy to get us, are we gonna do it upstairs?
Did we find out?
They haven't sent any particulars, but tomorrow when I go to the wigwam, first of all, I'll try not to fall through the floor.
Yeah, don't fall through.
Yeah, I see.
That's on TV, and I thought, what? And they go, well, we're still having meetings there, and I'm going, really? So who do they put in the middle of the floor? So,
Is that where the prom fell through the floor?
Yeah,
Yeah, one of Hannah's friends went.
really,
That's when we said it on the phone.
yeah.
It was on it hit the news this morning.
Yeah.
I did not watch that.
That's in Carroll, right? Or
No, it's in
Canal?
Pickering.
Pickerington.
It's on 204.
Mhm.
just
It's
before
right
you
there
get
next
into
to
the village.
70, the motorcycle museum.
Oh,
You know how
yeah,
like so
yeah, yeah.
you hit Harmon Road,
Right.
and on the north side of the road, there's all that wooded area and there's a big old fence. And for
Yeah.
years it was a mystery and everybody thought it was, secret government installation stuff. It was all right.
Yeah,
So Violet Township or Pickerington bought it
it was Violet Township.
and to make it into their township offices and then a rental
Cool.
center. And apparently the Pick North prom found a structure. Well, I don't think anybody actually fell through, but it started to sink in.
To collapse, yeah.
Human Blonde's Winery up there. When that fell in, we were there the week before.
I was there a couple
And it
weeks
was like-
before,
We're like,
yes.
wow, this is kind of, you know,
Allie and I were at the spaghetti warehouse like a week before the roof collapsed in
great.
the back
Oh,
area by
that's
where it
right.
collapsed.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay, so they'll be here on August 9th at 7 PM. And that was in February, she told me that, and she said, I'll touch base with you again in a couple of weeks before the meeting. Yeah. But that was the last confirmation, August 9th. So, I don't know, tentatively,
I mean, it depends. Is it, if it's their if they're taking their normal commissioners' meetings on the road,
That's what they're doing.
I guess they have one coming up at another community here shortly. Let's see how many people show up to it.
Yeah, what community, what village?
Was it Sugar Grove?
I think it was Sugar Grove at all. Yes.
Because I mean, if they're gonna get people that show up to it, because sometimes people show up.
Maybe they bring groupies.
Then we may want to figure something out for upstairs.
I just didn't want to let that slip past
Yeah.
and then us not be able to get upstairs because it'd be crowded.
So we can have Brandy go ahead and see. Ask for tentatively August 9th.
I can put that on. the calendar.
That way it's there until we get details.
I'll send her an email in the morning and ask her.
Hey, look at that. That took more than 2 minutes. So Brian, you can start your recording. Do it nice and live. Rules.
Okay, we're calling the meeting of the Rules Committee, open at 6:47 PM. Committee members present. Roll call.
Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner,
Yes.
and Foreman is absent.
Also in attendance, we have the fiscal officer, the village administrator, the mayor, three other council members. Do I have a motion to approve the April 11th minutes?
I would move that we approve the minutes from April 11th as written.
A second? I need a roll call of that.
Probably not, but why not? It'll take 30
Okay, roll
seconds.
call.
Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner,
Yes.
There you go.
There's no one, we don't have any visitors and Mike Tussey's on, but I'm gonna guess that Mr. Tussey doesn't have anything to say. Our goals, we have the employee evaluation form that we need to go over. Ms. Village Administrator.
Yes, ma'am. So in your packet, you had one of the goals of this that I requested was we look at performance evaluations. The the form that was called blank performance evaluation is the original one that I inherited when I started my tenure here. And I never ever liked it because I thought there was so much emphasis on disciplinary action. It was a big section, just like, and goals was just about the same size. The other reason I don't like it is I think when this was put together by whoever put it together, it was more geared towards office jobs or something and not really to my guys in the field digging trenches. And I mean, there are some things that I can bend to make a match it, like accurate work finished in acceptable time period. Well, we do have timelines, so, and start and finish dates, but there's just some things that I just felt it was kind of clunky. I am not for just scratching the whole thing, but if you look at the other attachment that Brian sent out, and that one is called for 2021 blank, I did some revision to it. I think it's more important for the staff to have the same goals as council does. And I think that those goals need to challenge them, meaning that if we don't train people, we don't learn the newest, latest, greatest things. I think that if people need to have a goal to where they want to go and what they want to do. And I think the schools are part of the fact that we're doing budgets now, the way we do our budgets, because then we know we have this street that needs to be done by this or blah, blah, blah. So one of the things, I don't mean blah, 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 pardon me, et cetera. One of the things that I did put, if you see on the second page, was also personal goals. And I asked everyone to come up with, what are you going to do to improve yourself? I think the village invests in our employees, and I think the employees owe it to the village to be the best they can. So you'll see under goals for next year, and that everybody filled that out. Everybody had a personal goal, and also either 3 projects or initiatives they were responsible for. So in this case, one of them was unaccounted water, one of them is 2022 project list, and one of them is emergency plan for WTP. So what good is that? When we have staff meetings, I ask for reports. Where are we at on this? You know, are we having some issues like EPA is requiring an unaccounted for water initiative? So as you can see, we've taken EPA rules and also incorporated the water. Then right below it, you'll see accomplishments, because I think it's just as important for disciplinary actions to know exactly how the employees feel they fared. You know, we're asking them questions, and I think it's important for them to say, you'd be able to say, this is what a project I worked on and it was really good, or, you know, this is what I did with most of my time. And that way it lets council know what's happening. So these are just kind of a couple adjustments I made on my own, because every year I struggle with this employee performance evaluation form. And I'm hoping that maybe someone has some input into what they believe. I come from, again, a 6 Sigma black belt. Anytime I have to rate somebody from 1 to 5, I get crazy, because like, when somebody a 2 versus when are they a 4? But if you're 1, 3 data points, you're either poor, you're good, or you're excellent. And I just don't like all of these 5 points and then having to figure out where everybody fits into this. The other thing I don't like it is that when I inherited these performance reviews, everybody pretty much, had a 4 or 5. So it's hard to go back now and say, just kidding, you're not a 4 or 5. And it's hard for me to say someone wasn't a 4 or 5, especially if they're this subject matter expert for the village. So I'm just looking at what your opinion is, everyone's opinion on this evaluation, where these are used. And again, these are used at the end of the year when we talk about raises. And if you get if you go to the bottom, if you get an accepted score of so much, you automatically get a 3% raise. And again, I think we have some of our staff is very good, but I also, do we award them across the board because everybody works here? Or do we need to even go further? And I think the mayor brought it up. Do we need more of an incentive evaluation? So I'm just looking for some input. You all have been around, I'm sure, evaluation plans, looking to see what you think. I mean, we can put together, this committee could start just writing one, rewriting it, start from scratch, or we could try to take what we have and do something with it. I'm just open.
Well, I've evaluated people for employment before. These are pretty much normal standards. I've looked a bunch of them up on computer, because it's been 13 years since I was a supervisor, but it looks normal to me. I mean, if you don't like it, as being their supervisor, what do you want to change? I guess that's what I would think.
So let's talk about the one for independence. So the degree of work accomplished with little or no supervision, all my guys excel at that. I don't think I have any employees that I have to stand over and say, now do this, or go here and do this. Through our staff meetings, they know exactly what is required for that week, and even further in that, and they go do it. So when it comes time to evaluation, I have a choice, either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. What do I give everybody fives? Same way with initiative, the degree to which an employee searches out new tasks and expends abilities. Sometimes I don't know that. I could have somebody out there who could see a storm drop and think, oh, wow, that needs to be, I need to go over there and I need to fix that. And it may never come up and that person is putting forth the effort. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying.
So maybe it's a combination
Mhm.
type thing. Independence. Going back to my computer programming days, there are certain things you needed options for, and there are certain things that were binary. It was either true or it wasn't.
Mhm.
And maybe some of those ones where you either are or you aren't,
Black and white.
yeah, goes down to just that option as opposed to a scale of 1 to 5. And then the ones where you get job knowledge
Mhm.
is a scale to 1 to 5. 3, you have the job knowledge to do your job. 4, you have the job knowledge to do your job and help others and do a little bit more. And 5 is, your SME type thing. But, if independence is a binary choice, then let's make it a binary choice.
Is there any form of self-evaluation that's used
I
in
did
conjunction with this?
When was it now? About 3 years ago, I did that. Remember, I sent everybody out. I did like a 360. I sent everybody an evaluation to do a self-evaluation, and then everybody evaluated everybody else. I know it sounds like a lot, but it was interesting, some of the things that came back. Not a lot of negatives, believe it or not,
I just think there's a lot of room for growth through a self-eval, and the team evaluations can also be such. I mean, again, then you would have 3-pronged kind of evaluation. Yes, it can be time consuming, but I think there can be a lot of valuable information.
Well, I think so too.
And
I
those-
pulled a lot that year off of it. I think they don't understand, this, in a way, you're right, Darla, adherence to policies. Yeah, that's really important for an employee. When do I downgrade someone who doesn't follow a rule and regulation? Is it 1 time, or they have to do it 3 times? Or
Well,
that's what I'm trying to get at.
Is it something we can get sued over or fined for, or is it,
Fatal or flop.
or is it something minor?
well, if you have to write someone up, that goes in their person, you have to tell them. They have to sign it, all that, but 1, 2, 3,
And as I say, maybe something like that is a tertiary choice.
yeah.
Mm.
If I have seen, if you want to get rid of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 thing, I have seen evaluations where there is like needs improvement.
Yep.
Meets expectations and exceeds expectations.
Mhm. And that's where I came from. That's the way we had evaluations. Yeah, I think those are good. Because I think those at least have a direction.
Right.
These-
And they're
these-
not so subjective.
Yes, yes.
The one thing I would caution on that, well, I guess you run into the same thing here with the having the 5 is an excellent. Terry, I think you're very even-keeled and fair-minded. Hopefully, the next village administrator, because you're not going to be here for the next 100 years.
Oh, maybe 99.
Okay.
I'm kidding.
So in 100 years, when we get the next village administrator, that person might have a different policy. And I once worked with a supervisor that never gave anybody a 5. Because if I give you a 5, then you have no room to improve.
Exactly.
And that's not fair to
No.
employees either. And so while we have the meets expectations, needs improvement, meets expectations, exceeds expectations, I don't want to negatively affect future staff under a different administration in the future
Mhm.
that might think that same way. Now, again, you're going to run into the same thing if you give them 1 through 5. They might always just give them a 4. But I don't know, to me, a 4 on a 5 scale is a little better than meets expectations.
I don't get any meat and potatoes out of this. I guess is what I'm saying.
Even
When I-
the revised one,
The revised one, yes, because we'll be asking about this, but this one, I don't get any meat and potatoes out of it. I can go in there and I can pull out an employee file that Brian has in his office and just go through all of the evaluations and they practically, somebody just checks them down, you know? They're just a formality and not a tool, I guess is what I'm saying, right?
What if? So there are certain things that transcend all the jobs. But there are certain things that are specific to each of the jobs. What if the evaluation was tailored to the position? Because like, back when I was doing computer programming, it wasn't fair to evaluate me as a programmer and database administrator compared to the guy that fixed the computers, that was just the tech support guy. Because we had totally different job functions,
You were.
duties, responsibilities.
Yes.
But if you use the same one,
Yep.
you're
seeing it better than I
comparing
said it.
oranges to apples.
Yeah.
Maybe, everything's gonna have some job knowledge and some work quality and, your binary adheres to village policies. But then water operator, wastewater operator, street supervisor, they all have their own individual functions that maybe they should be evaluated on their specific jobs as opposed to some generalization of what everybody gets evaluated to. Because then maybe you get more.
Yes, and I like that. I like that option instead of one size fits all. And then again, along with that comes those meat and potatoes I'm looking for. Do you want to go from here to here? Well, this is what you need to do. Like during the fall and winter, I try to allow staff to go to as much training to increase their knowledge base as possible. Mr. Little's at training this week and he'll be the last one that trains because the summer is always so busy. But in the fall, we have time. And I think it's important when somebody raises their hand and says, I'd like to learn a little bit more about that than I do now, so I liked it.
But your training for Dylan is going to be a lot different than your training for Joey.
but the evaluation also should be different.
I think so too.
It's kind of,
So, we have this whole package, and funny story, when we first, when we get new employees, we sit and we go through the manual with them. So everybody, and one of the new employees just looked at me and said, are we union? This is very much like a union package. And I said, no, but, we inherited this, so we're working with it because it does have some nice things to it. One of the nice thing it does, it asks for job descriptions. So everybody has their job description. And what's nice about that is maybe that's where we hook this together. Maybe we take those job descriptions, look at
That's what I
them,
was just gonna say.
reevaluate them, maybe even let staff, look, here's the job description for your job. Are you doing this?
Could do a cut and paste, a copy and paste, and take that verbiage straight from the job description and insert that into the evaluation.
So maybe
you're
that's
not
how we hook it together.
Inventing everything, but kind of a hybrid, a combination of the general formalities, but then more job specific based on the job
Right.
descriptions that have already existed and been written for the village for those positions.
I like that. Because again, we're pulling that employee manual that seems to be disjointed sometimes together. What are your thoughts, Brian?
Sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because we've talked about it a lot.
when I worked with the state auditor's office, I was in one of those. Our evaluations was meets, exceeds, and, what you said earlier or someone said earlier here. I was thinking, okay,
Would you like it to be more specific to your job? I personally think it helps if it gives me a little bit more specific information. How do you feel about that?
No, I think it's perfect. And now I got my wheels going on how I'm going to do this. The nice thing about it, like I said, I have Barb back for at least the next 90 days and she can be a big help for me. I think maybe if you agree to, maybe that's kind of what you want to, like a template or whatever to look at, then maybe the first thing we do is print out those job descriptions and pass them out to the employees and say, hey, you know, look at these, let me know what you do, what you don't do. And even Brian and I look at them and make our own comments because, you know, Brian is, you know, he does work HR for me.
Well, and it's good to go through them occasionally
Yeah, we
anyway,
don't know
because,
how long it's been.
yeah, you don't know, I went through some job descriptions recently and it still said the equipment that you need to be able to use to function in this office is a typewriter.
Yeah, it says that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Do they not?
Mike doesn't know where to go.
Who is that, please?
That's Mike Lee.
Oh,
Is Brian gonna let?
Brian, you gonna let him in?
it should be.
Should be already unlocked.
Yeah, it should be unlocked.
Yeah, but I think people think they can come in that door, and we took that step away because the fire chief had a canary about it. I don't mean that badly. I asked him to
I mean,
come
I live
review,
with fire chief.
yeah, well, there you go. I asked him to come review our, and tell me what was safe and what wasn't safe, you know.
So, yeah, are you gonna then try and
I think
taste,
first thing
try
I'm gonna,
whatever and present it to us and see what you think, and yeah. Each job, you have to evaluate it differently, so, yeah, I think you should start with, here you go, is this what you
Job
do,
description.
you know?
Because then you take information from that job description
Yeah.
and link it to the rubric,
Exactly.
and then it's gonna make a lot more sense, and it's gonna be more individualized and geared towards that specific job.
Yeah.
Again, you're gonna have some standards that are going to be the same for all employees, but then
and that's
a
true.
section that will be geared more specifically to their tasks and to their
Right,
job.
and now I'm really getting excited about this because when we say adhere to policies, I know. When we say to adhere to policies, there's policies that Joey and Brad have to adhere to that, you know, the rest of the staff would never have to do, and that's from the EPA. So, yeah, I think that's, I like that.
Well, and it's a bigger part of their job than it is someone else's,
Sure.
and so it might carry a little more weight. Hey, we didn't get any EPA violations because you adhere to the policies.
There you go, and that's important because
Mhm.
we used to get them before I came on.
And that is something else you can do on that rubric. You can weight it accordingly. So if
Right.
there's something that you want weighted or
I
of
like
more greater importance, then you
Yeah.
multiply it times 2 or 3, whatever, however you want to weight that criteria.
I like it.
Good,
I'm glad
okay.
we're on the same page.
Cemetery project?
Well, wait,
Oh,
can I,
sorry.
can I comment on something on the second page, or is that done, or?
No.
Is this something that, I mean, I know it's just a draft. Underscoring, I looked at this and I went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth because I didn't understand the overall rating. I understand now what that means, but when I read overall rating, to me, that's the same as total points. And so I mean, it would be whatever you're calling this first page. That's what I'm assuming you mean by overall rating.
Well.
Oh, I
this is
see.
gonna
Here's
be-
an overall rating.
Yeah, it would stop there, and then the next one would be the,
And you just
Attendance
keeping adding
points.
them up.
it would be, the attendance points, and then it would be this one.
Oh, yeah, I get
Then
that.
it would be
But
total.
when I see overall rating, 40 points, I just think it's confusing.
I see what you're saying, because overall is everything.
Sure.
Everything
Mhm.
Together, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just a matter of verbiage.
Good point, well taken.
Maybe use it.
You know, that's your evaluation rating, and then you add the
Yeah.
other stuff, and then you get your overall rating or your
Good deal.
overall total points.
Sorry, is there any other discussions about that?
The other thing I would say is now, earlier in the year, we got a page from the employee handbook. And obviously, there will have to be changes made
Yes.
to, okay.
Yes. And because the employee handbook is passed by ordinance, then that would come, once we make a decision on what we're doing, then we would get with Jeff to have him give us ordinance or legislation to amend the
Okay.
employee manual.
That's okay. Anybody else have any other questions, comments about the evaluation? All right, next one is the cemetery project.
Right, that's kind of been on hold a little bit. I hope to have more to report to you by next meeting. I think the biggest thing we have right now is I don't have enough people because I need somebody to do a walking inventory. And it's gonna take a bit, you know, last year, Annabelle walked the one half of Maple Grove, but we need to do all of the cemeteries and walk to make sure the person that's here is really here. We have ran into a couple of issues, but they were solvable. And I think we're getting there. I just think we need this inventory now. Having said that, I'm going to reach out to B3 because they have a division of their engineering company that will come out and do the cemeteries. Like they will come out and GIS them and et cetera. I know my husband's getting his cemetery done, not his personal cemetery, his cemetery at Gambier done. And I thought it was a pretty reasonable price considering how much we would have to pay somebody to do it and someone would have to interpret that information. So I'm gonna take a wait, see on that after they get that project going to see what that looks like and then come back and talk to you a little more about it. I think the cemeteries that I would be the most concerned with that I would want to do would be Maple Grove and Basel and on the Western. You know, the other ones they are what they are. You know what I'm saying?
Do we need to GIS them, or do we just need someone to walk through and say in row 1, plot 1,
Well,
John Smith from 1857 to 1903 is here?
the nice thing about it is they will put pens down. And they insert pins as a part of this, and I don't know a whole lot. This was Kentucky Derby conversation. So while the Kentucky Derby was on, we had a conversation about it. So I want to just see a little more about it because again, we can't find people to come in and work and, this is gonna.
Because I was thinking, if we don't need a GIS and you literally just need someone to walk through and say, here's the layout, write the name and dates of the person here, that could possibly fall into a community service projects for Boy Scouts, Girl
There you go.
Scouts, any of the high school, any of the youth groups around here that need something to do over the summer and need some community service stuff.
And I had a nephew that was go through his Eagle Scout, and that's what he did at Grove City.
It went through the cemetery. It could be great.
What you do when you can't read them, so what you put down is,
That's when you get to make.
you got a headstone, but no name,
Yeah, sometimes it's just a noun.
Yeah.
But a
no
noun.
name.
Yeah, sadly, that's the way it is. And that's why we need to get our records up to date. So I will keep looking into that. I had tried to reach out for some community service participants, and they said there was no funding this year for a program I was hoping to use for teams.
What, through Goodwill?
No, through the county. There's an organization.
I don't know if Goodwill, at least in Franklin County, Goodwill Industries will put, they have a training program for kids with exceptional needs occasionally. I've had them in the office before and they do data entry and they do fine and there's a supervisor there with them. I don't know if something like that might work.
I mean,
for
it's
them
not
to walk
too
around.
late. The other thing we could do, because I have a sophomore that I've hired to do mowing and trimming and stuff for the summer. So it's not too late to reach out to the school, but we didn't have a really big return on our lifeguards, did we? And Brian reached out to the school a couple of times, didn't you?
Yeah.
So, I could try to reach out to the school, see if I could find somebody to do that again, but I think that's our next step. I know we really need to do that.
Or we could just get inventive. We've got someone to hire to mow.
Mhm.
They mow the cemeteries once a week.
Oh, yes.
So on this week, as he mows, he writes down the names on the first row and then he zooms around and does the rest on the second week and
Oh,
do
we
the second
have,
row.
we have a matrix with everybody's name on it that should be there. But it takes a little
Oh, yeah.
longer than that.
You
Brad,
put down
trust
if
me.
they're veterans or anything on there.
You know, we hadn't in the past, but we could if we start collecting it. I think that would be a good idea.
That's George Stillwell, years ago, when he was alive, he came in there some of all, I think, all the cemeteries in Baltimore, and maybe some in every township.
Mhm.
Now, he just lists the veterans.
Mhm.
I got that up. So I didn't know. if you
We
looked
can
at-
do that because I think that would be of importance, you know, we could put like an asterisk or something so you would know, but, so let me, do a little more and I'll report out next time, hopefully with some.
Because veterans would be good to know because the VFW has,
Yeah.
does the VFW have a fund to help repair headstones for damaged veterans?
We don't, but there is a
There's a
organization out there,
Okay.
yes.
I think there is, you're right. So that's all I have.
Okay, anybody else have
Starla.
anything else on the cemetery? Okay, we go to old business. Electronic or online time tracking. Nothing
I
yet?
don't have anything for you this week. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I have one that I called up and looked at, but that's as far as I got with it, so hopefully now with Barb on board, she can help me do that.
Okay.
Sorry.
Any other comments or questions? No? New business. Anybody have new business? Any further business we need to talk about? The rules? Ready. Next meeting will be second Monday in June, which is June 13th at 6:45, or immediately following the finance committee. And is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
I second, I'm sorry.
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you for all these
You know, I go ahead and stop the stream for this one, Brian, I want to just restart it.